All right, Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. Like, subscribe, comment if you're new. This is our TNT Tuesday Night Titans review series. We'll be through that this week sometime, I think, and then we'll move into Saturday night's main event. But anyway, if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about, please feel free to comment below, and we'll try and make that happen for you. In any event, the October 18th version of TNT in 1985, relatively basic. They really don't move. They really don't move that far forward up until about WrestleMania, maybe January, February of '86. The remainder of the year has some good segments here and there, but really, other than promoting maybe the Wrestling Classic, which for the record is the first wrestling pay-per-view. It's a relatively dead show by this point. They really had about a little over a year's run where the shows are relatively can't miss, but it gets draggy here. But anyway, McMahon interviews King Kong Bundy to open things. Bundy, who by this point is managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, and they already are starting to talk about Bundy's desire to combat Hulk Hogan. And if you really think about it, to go back to October to April, for a feud pump here is a pretty big deal. Also, Andre the Giant is factored into things, and Bundy talks about being 400 plus pounds, almost over 450, and he goes up and up over the months with the weight. I don't know if that's legitimate or just a hype thing, but suffice to say, King Kong Bundy at this point is a house. We see him have a match with Mario Mancini, who is a perennial enhancement talent around this time and era, so that to be regarded with respect. Mancini obviously does not rock Mr. Bundy in the very least, and Bundy uses power moves predominantly. And then the Avalanche splash in the corner to gain the victory. Of course, the Avalanche does in Hillbilly Jim at a point, does in Andre the Giant at a point, and eventually through Saturday night's main event does in Hulk Hogan to set up the WrestleMania 2 match. And what's interesting to me is when Vince knows he's going with somebody, he really does push them for quite a while before giving them that final rub sort of situation. But suffice to say, he knows where he's going in '86. If he only knew where he was going in 2020, I think we'd all be a little bit happier and healthier in watching the WWE product. But anyway, we move towards the next segment, which is another King Kong Bundy segment where he discusses beating on and eventually vanquishing the Giant, Andre the Giant, of course, alongside John Studd. Heenan at this point having monstrous athletes in his family, and that's a pretty big deal. We then move to Jesse Ventura, who is talking about his predictions for the winner of the Wrestling Classic, also referred in the video as WrestleVision, although I don't really remember them calling it WrestleVision very much here. WrestleVision, a term reserved for the Coliseum video release, I'm pretty sure. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm not correct on that. But, Ventura starts really kind of plugging Randy Savage, and I don't know if there was a plan for Savage to be a more consistent partner to Ventura, but I think that would have been interesting, would have been something to see and watch, and rather enjoyable at the time. Suffice to say, that doesn't happen as Jesse is gone sometime by the midpoint of 1986. So gone in the first 6 months due to blood clots from exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, which he details both in his wrestling days and his political career. Interview with Paul Orndorff. Orndorff obviously aggravated with having the bounty on his head. Still impressed with himself as a babyface here. He's not above doing some cheating himself. Orndorff still a guy whom, outside of the Hogan feud, I don't get, and no one has really come to his defense. So maybe he's kind of an acquired taste that you have to acquire before he gets to the WWF. I don't know, but suffice to say, Orndorff back and forth. He's a heel again by the summer months, and going into that Hogan feud by the summer months. But here, still in the fan favorite squeaky clean role. Always boggles my mind how guys switch one week and there's no transition. It's just, oh, you're a good guy now, or you're a bad guy now, whatever have you. Vince McMahon interviews Randy Savage. Savage is, needless to say, hyped to all get out point. He's talking about dethroning Hogan. He's talking about wanting matches with Tito Santana. He's talking about the Wrestling Classic and so much more. Savage really is a guy who, if you are in the business and you need to learn about the action of living your gimmick, Randy Savage is a good place to start that journey of a story. And then we see Barry O and Rene Goulet. They ask for a challenge. They aren't really going to get one because they're both perennial enhancement talents, but they are interviewed about wanting a challenge. Perhaps there was a plan to go further with them as a team than I realized, but that does not seem to materialize. I don't quite get the Rene Goulet leather glove thing. Obviously a takeoff on Michael Jackson, who was super, super hot at the time. I don't think people who weren't around at the time or haven't studied Michael Jackson would understand, but he was as over as Justin Bieber was 10 or 15 years ago. If not more, actually more, so bad comparison there, but suffice to say, Jackson was a big, big deal then. Magnificent Morocco on his latest performance, and he's blaming the directors, and he's blaming anybody that'll listen, and he's carrying on. Again, I mean, there's clipped matches throughout this, but this is the notes for the majority of the segments, and really, it's a hard show to get through at this point. Again, it picks up again around late January, early February. But for now, TNT might as well blow itself up because it's a weak show to get through at this point. In any event, that is today's review, and we will move along. We will continue to chug on through, and if you have comments or questions, please feel free to comment below. Till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.